Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Just wanted to make another video today. Albert Einstein once said you could either look at nothing is a miracle or everything is a miracle. I believe it was Albert Einstein that said this. You could either look at nothing as a miracle or everything as a miracle. I don't know about you, but I choose the latter. I think looking at everything as a miracle is vital in this realm, in this three-dimensional realm. And the reason for that is because it allows us to be open to anything and allows us to let the universe do its thing. Here's the thing. If we don't look at miracles as an everyday occurrence or as an everything occurrence, an every occurrence, we're closing ourselves off. There was a movie I'll never forget, and this really hit home with me as a kid and still does. There was a movie back in the day. I don't know if you ever heard of the comedian George Burns. Legendary comedian, lived to be 100 years old. Him and his wife were a team for a while, Gracie Allen. And after she passed, he went on and still had decades of comedic success. Was in movies, and one of the movies he was in a three-part movie series called Oh God. And the first Oh God, he plays God, and he appears to this young man, played by the late singer John Denver. If you know John Denver, his Country Roads and all that. John Denver's in the movie, and he appears to him. God appears to John Denver and John Denver's character, and he talks to him about, spreading the word that God is around and it can work here. He set the world up so that it can work here, and we got to stop getting in our own way and all that stuff. Well, there's a scene towards the end where John Denver, the word gets out that John Denver sees God and all this, and everyone thinks he's crazy. And there winds up being a court case. He loses his job, and he basically goes on trial, because people think he's crazy, And, all these religious experts are there and, and all this other stuff. Well, it gets to a point in the trial where God himself appears to the courtroom. And he does stuff to kind of show, hey, I'm God. Like he disappears as he's walking and, he tries to show the judge and the court that he is God, Let me show you a little trick. Let me show you a little miracle. Let me show you a little this, that, and the other. And basically, God gets onto the stand to testify. And he says a line that is so profound. George Burns does, as God. He says, why is it that everything associated with me has to be called a miracle? That word makes the distance between us even greater than it already is. In other words, to me, that was so profound. I wish we didn't call everything associated with me a miracle, because it makes the distance between us even greater than it already is. And that is such a profound line. Anything associated with the higher power or God or the universe or whatnot, we call a miracle. And it almost goes back to that video I did on gratitude, where we don't feel we're great. We're so grateful we don't feel we deserve it. We don't feel we're worthy of it. Same thing with miracles. Oh, I wasn't worthy of that, but thank you, God. Instead of realizing that the universe works with us. The universe is us. The universe has our back at all times. Right? So when we see something occur that we perceive as a miracle, we have to understand this is just the universe. This is all in a day's work for the universe. You know what I mean? It could be something as trivial as, I love my sports. It could be something as trivial as the underdog beating the favorite. We see upsets in sports all the time. David beating Goliath, so to speak. We've seen it in the medical field where someone gets a dire death sentence diagnosis and all of a sudden they do a complete 180 and they live a long, happy, healthful life. Right? We've seen businesses that look like they're going to tank and they're about to shut down. All of a sudden, right, they take off. And other things that I won't even, people surviving things that you didn't think, like accidents or something that you never would think they'd survive, These things happen all the time. You will see very few you will see a number of documented cases, but there are even more undocumented cases of these. For whatever reason, I don't know. But to think of a miracle as something that only happens once in a blue moon, or to think that miracles don't happen at all, that it's just luck, which don't even get me started on that. There is no such thing as luck. There is no such thing as luck. And we'll get into another video on that in the future. But no, there's no such thing as luck. Luck is a word we use to explain something that we don't understand. That's another story. But I say look at everything as a miracle. Everything. Think about it. The sun, we know the sun's going to rise and set every day. Right? Day and night. The tides. The wind blowing the trees. The leaves changing color in the fall depending on where you are. Not here so much. But the point I'm bringing out is these are all miracles. These are all the universe doing its thing. So you don't think that a universe that created the planets, the stars, the universe, the solar system, the galaxies, makes night and day. You don't think a universe that created all that can't handle? You don't think it can handle things we consider to be miracles? You don't think that universe can handle things in our lives, our individual lives? You don't think the universe knows how to handle that? You know what I'm saying? You created the Amazon River, but you can't handle my bills. You created the sun, the moon, and the stars, but you can't handle my health. Right? I'm just saying, when you think about it that way, miracles are just the universe doing its thing. And another thing I want to say is we have a lot of nerves. See, we're so hell-bent in this dimension to be realistic, not to be Pollyannish, to expect the worst but hope for the best. And I'm like, I understand that, but it's like, if you expect the worst but only hope for the best, you're still leaning towards the worst. You're still leaning towards the worst. And how many times have those people that have expected the worst been proven wrong? A lot of times they've been proven right. But why? If you think about that, why? But, it's just like to expect the worst. First of all, hope. I think hope is a beautiful thing. It's like gratitude. It has its place. But it's also somewhat limited because hope could also be a beggar. Hope is not belief and belief is not knowing. To me, that's like the hierarchy. To hope for something is nice. To believe it is better, but to know it is the best. You have to get to the point of knowing that these miracles can happen at any time. And they do. And another thing, why do we only hope for miracles? There's the word hope again. Why are we only open to miracles when we're desperate? Why are we only open to miracles when we're desperate? You follow what I'm saying? It's a shame. It's a shame. Like a 2 outs, there's my sports analogy with baseball. 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, 2 strikes, and now you want the home run. Well, it's never too late, but at the same time, why couldn't you expect that from the beginning? You know what I mean? for lack of a better analogy. But the point I'm bringing out is miracles is something we need to be open to at all times. And a lot of times that involves, here's another subject I'll get into down the road. Sometimes all a miracle, what we think of a miracle is just jumping a timeline. You know, there are timelines where very similar to where you are now, but maybe just this much of a difference. It may not even be a physical difference, like a visible difference. It may be just a little bit change in frequency, and that changes where you go. You know what I mean? So, again, that's another fascinating topic for another day. But there's science behind miracles and manifestation and all that. And there are a lot of people out there that are more equipped than me to explain it. I suggest you check them out. And just look up this stuff. You'll find it all over the place. But again, we have a lot of nerve expecting the worst all the time, or expecting the worst possible scenario, the worst possible scenario, and not realizing that the best case scenario, even though it may not look that way from this perspective, the best case scenario is just as likely. But we make plans, and we write scripts, and we do things from a fear-based mindset and expecting the worst. You know who makes a ton of money doing this? Insurance. And look, I'm not saying you don't need insurance, but you realize how much money insurance companies make on expecting the worst? You know what I mean? You just in case this happens, you want to have this coverage, and just in case this happens, you want to have that coverage. You want them to be protected, and da-da-da-da-da. And I understand it, I do. But a lot of their business is a fear-based model. I'm not saying don't get insurance, but a lot of their business comes from fear-based. Same thing, unfortunately, and God bless them, with the medical community. Same thing with the medical community. Fear-based. Helpful in a lot of ways, but fear-based. You know? I don't want to get started on that because that's a whole other can of worms. But the point of bringing out is we need to start being open to miracles, believing and understanding that miracles are just the universe doing its thing. A miracle does not have to be something that you know what I mean? A miracle is just the universe doing its thing. And we have to be open to that. All right? Have a great day. Take care.